some Colombian family members listening, so I'm gonna go hard. So they do a Colombian hot dog where they put it's like a mayo ketchup mixture, right? And then you do like cheese, like grated cheese, and then and then you take like just regular Lay's potato chips and you crumble it on top, and then you take diced pineapples and you put it on top.
I was with you before the diced pineapples.
No, but you know what? You would be very, very pleased with it. Yeah.
Welcome to the 66th episode of the Cassidin's Creation. I'm your host, Chris Deering. This is a show where I interview bands and public figures from the mathcore adjacent communities. If you beautiful people in chat any questions or comments, drop them in. I'll try to read them aloud. If you like the sub for $5, you get access to some exclusive emos, as well as access to the interviews before they hit YouTube and streaming services. If you're watching this on YouTube or listening to this in your car and have no idea what I'm talking about, the show is first recorded live on Twitch. Join us every Sunday and Wednesday, twitch.tv/the Creation for the live cast. With that out of the way, let me introduce our guest tonight who dropped their self-titled EP back in April. Welcome in Wax People. How's it going, guys?
Hey. I'm chilling. Yeah.
Awesome. Tell us who you are, what you do in the band.
I'm Mike Mull. I play the bass clarinet, the electric bass clarinet.
I'm Raj. I play guitar in Wax People.
I'm Rusty. I play bass, 6-string bass.
Alrighty. Bass clarinet, that's pretty interesting to have this in like a... do you call yourselves metal? I guess you're metal.
Yeah, yes. We're trying to be that more than anything else.
Okay.
That is what it is.
Let's start with your band name. How'd you come up with the name? Are you just a bunch of waxy boys? What's going on?
Rusty, you want to take that one?
Yes, man. Like, it felt cool. I like the idea of like this kind of creepy faces, like, just kind of melty, slowly wax people. I don't know. Personally, like, I think it came from a few different places. There's like a Zappa tune called Plastic People. And he was like referring to people living in the valley back in the day. I don't know. It's like an old like 60s tune from his early stuff. I loved that idea. I kind of had that connotation. And then recently I've discovered that like the Astonishing Stories of Marvel has a whole like 1960s story called The Wax People. It's about like mannequins moving at night. That's just a coincidence, but yeah.
Okay, so this is a cool name then?
Yeah, just a cool
name. Didn't have like
name.
any meaning behind it? Okay.
I think it fits though, the aesthetic and vibe, and so yeah.
Okay.
It feels good, wear it,
Alrighty. So this is your first release. Tell me how you guys ended up coming together.
This actually, started a long time ago. The seed of it was basically I'd been kind of trying to scheme an idea for a new group that I could really just try to explore some intense musical ideas and sound ideas with, and I had met Rusty, I don't know, 2-3 years before that, probably, maybe more than that, and I thought he'd be down, and luckily he was. So I just hit him up and we just started working on ideas. I had some stuff sketched out, and then eventually, kind of over the years, we just kind of put the actual full band together. Couple different iterations, and just really dialed in the songs over a long period of time.
Did you plan to make music like this from the start, or did this start out differently?
I think
pretty much.
Yeah, I think it was the idea was to make it as like I have a really kind of fucked up idea, and it's like you come up with some numbers and some notes, and then we would put it together and be like, that's not really that easy to play. Like, I have to practice that. And then we would show up the next week like, hey, dude, I figured it out. But you know what else would be cool? And it just kept evolving and growing. And then, like, obviously we have, like, our interests and bands that we, like, listen to and love. And they're all, like, really, I guess, like, complex grooves or simple grooves, and things just kind of hit that way. Except it's our, interpretation and creation of that kind of stuff.
Okay. How did you get in, Raj? I'm sorry, it was Raj, right? All right.
Yeah. So I've been friends with Rusty for like, a long, long time. Met Mike through Rusty while visiting Cal Arts, I believe. Um, so I was always familiar with these two rascals.
Cool.
Seen them play a bunch of shows. Even went to visit them when they were first recording the album as a trio.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
And I had expressed interest in playing. I was like, hey, if you guys ever need a guitar player, let me know. And then when we got our new drummer Jacob, the books were open, so it was a good time to cross paths, as they would say.
Alrighty.
So that's how.
I saw you guys like were playing shows back in 2017. Why did it take so long to get a release out? And then it's just an EP and it's not a full length. What? So
I got that.
what's going on with that?
The music like had evolved so many times. You know, like even if you like, I mean, the versions of what the songs were at that point weren't necessarily where they ended up like now on this release. We had done like a bunch of shows, like kind of like, you know, it takes a moment, I feel like, to find your sound and footing. Mike playing a clarinet in an environment with like heavy hitting drums, heavily amplified guitars. You know what I mean? It's like it took us, I would say, probably about 2 years to really find a way to just like dial in our practice performative sound. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that had to do with like the bass clarinet, like sonically, and how like, you know, essentially we got an mouthpiece pickup installed, which completely changed the game in terms of feedback and all those kinds of things, because the clarinet sound comes outward and we couldn't do anything.
Like it's electronic now? How does that work?
You want to take that, Mike?
Kinda, yeah. So I got it because I thought this might come out. So like, just like a saxophone, it's got a mouthpiece, right? That, but you can see, I don't know if you can see, but there's a hole in the top. Uh-huh. So I had this installed by a guy in Arizona, and it's basically it's called a Piezo Pickup. It's like it's these types of pickups are usually, they're designed originally for like acoustic instruments, right? Rather than electric instruments. So it's not like a pickup on the guitar, like a magnetic pickup. It's like so it's like this little unit, and it actually screws in, it's threaded. So it screws into the top of the mouthpiece, and then you run a cable out of it. And basically what it's doing is it's picking up the vibrations of the air going through the mouthpiece, which is basically that's what makes the sound. And it's like you can use that to amplify it. But the big deal is that it avoids the use of a microphone completely. And so feedback is completely gone, which that was a huge hurdle over the years to kind of even figure out. Initially, it was just like, okay, I had to work with clip-on microphones and things like that. And it just doesn't really work.
We would play bars or venues, and it would just be like, we'd have to bring so much gear that we think would be the best way to dial and control our sound, but it would never quite work. You know, it'd always be bass and drums would be these really heavy things that everyone could hear, but the clarinet would always get covered. And so after that, very hard like ceiling of how loud I could go, and it's like even like using delays, I had to be super careful because they would build on each other and stuff. It was hard, but it was really a game changer to get the pickup, because then I could literally stand in front of the amplifier and crank it up, and it was fine.
That's totally awesome, fine. Man. Yeah. So you run it through like a guitar amp, or?
Yeah, well, it's basically I'm running like multi-effects. I've been mostly going through a bass amp so I can get a little more pump, because I use an octave pedal for certain things. But I'm probably going to switch to a powered speaker, because it's got more high frequencies pretty soon. Because I cover a lot of range from low to high, so it's good to be able to cut when I need to.
Okay. That's awesome, man. You don't see a lot of metal bands with a bass clarinet. Honestly, this release is amazing, guys. It's so cool to hear bands like trying to experiment with their sound and reaching out past like the box that, you know, a lot of metal is put into, and like trying to incorporate different instruments and stuff. I kind of feel like this is where like some bands are going to be heading in the future. You know what I mean? Like this is untraveled territory for the most part. There's a couple doing it, but you know. It's cool seeing you guys out there. I think my favorite song is Bant. I think that's how you would pronounce it anyway, or Banty maybe.
Yeah.
I love the groovy section at the beginning. It's so good how everything works together, and it's like headbangable and like I guess heavy, but like also kind of like light at the same time. I don't know. It's a weird balance you guys have struck with your sound, and you got that nice chill section just hanging out in there. It's awesome. Also really like Thagomize for the sick bass clarinet solo. Dude, you don't hear that in metal bands. It's fucking insane, guys. So yeah, congrats on the first release. Congrats on this awesome record. Like, you guys are so sick.
Thank you.
How do you where do your influences come from for this? What would you bring into this?
Rusty, you want to start?
I think like the first place we were like mostly just like Car Bomb and Meshuggah, and we were just like we just loved how, I mean, Car Bomb, like Mike would come in, he's like, I figured out like what mathematically or systematically they're doing during this section. I was like, all right, and he would like play it for us and just break it down. I was like, oh, that's so sick. Like, just kind of like finding the pattern of the recipe that some of these like bands are using as like compositional tools. A lot of that kind of stuff, you know, I'm not to say it's numerical or whatnot, but like, because there's a lot of pitch things also happening, but like, that's kind of where we started, like in terms of Car Bomb and Meshuggah and more like math oriented, like groove stuff like that. I think we all kind of have our own personal influences within that genre or subgenres. I love like Ruins or Behold the Octopus, or like a lot of like Magma, and kind of like the whole Zool aspect of things, and just like weird avant-garde, heavy, loud shit. So for me, it was just like, I think like I had always kind of had a similar vision in terms of what Mike was talking about, of like having a band that was like horn heavy stuff, you know. Okay. And a lot of the bands that we take influence from don't do that, you know. They're like, there's no horns in any of those bands that I mentioned. Right. So it's like, how do we take that avant-garde aspect of it, but still kind of like not have it go too far into the weird, and still have it be groovy, accessible in terms of like headbang and pulse. And like, that was kind of always the goal, is to just like, if it feels good to play, like, then it would probably feel good to listen to. So the bands, you know, Mike, I'm sure, can add to the list too of like influences.
Yeah, I mean, those are definitely like in terms of like musical concept and this idea of always trying to find some kind of groove with whatever the idea is, whether it's straightforward or abstract or somewhere in between. It's definitely, yeah, Meshuggah is the kings, always will be, I think. And Car Bomb kind of blew my brains out when Rajan introduced me to Car Bomb, and it kind of just it opened up a lot of thought processes for me, just about because Meshuggah has their thing that they do, and they have so many cool ways of doing it, but it's kind of their thing. And then Car Bomb kind of comes at it from a completely different angle. But then also, you know, I grew up, like one of my favorite bands ever is Pantera, you know, and they just riffs and, you know, just the classic thing, you know, the classic hard rock turned metal thing.
Yeah, you're just doing Pantera with a clarinet now.
Right, yeah. So I love that, just like the old school, just Slayer Pantera thing, you know. Not that we really go there that often, but I love that flavor. So like when we have an opportunity to kind of hint at that, I like trying to go there.
Can you play Pantera on your clarinet?
I've learned some, yeah.
Okay, alrighty.
Yeah, but you know, these guys, you know, honestly, they're always introducing me to, you know, other great stuff that, you know, just sides of things that I haven't checked out before. But yeah, I don't want to, you know, we can get into more lists later, but I think Rajan should talk next about influences.
yeah, I mean, as far as my personal influences go, as far as what I brought to the band, I think I've been really lucky to have played with, Bedlam and Geigen, and I think a lot of the experience I took from people that I played with, I was able to bring to the band. And because a lot of the stuff was already written, and really my role was to just fill in my part with what was already there, and then there was some negotiation as far as like, hey, how about we do this a little bit longer? So some structure changes were made, but a lot of the stuff is already written, and I just try to add my thing to it. Um, so yeah, I mean, the bands we already mentioned, Car Bomb, Meshuggah, Pantera, Slayer. I mean, there's been literally moments when we're writing something or like, hey, how should we end this? And I'm like, you know what, let's do Slayer. Let's do this kind of thing. And I think it's it should always come from a place of just like, hey, like we need to give something to the people that they can conceptualize and understand. It's not too out there. Something that's like there's always like some riff that I hear or some sort of musical thing, and it's like, oh, that's a Slayer riff, or that's a there's something that you can grab onto. So that's kind of what I brought to the band, is just trying to at least, if I thought I could make something a little bit more on the heavier side or more on the metal side, I would lean towards that and try to do that.
Okay. You mentioned one thing that you're in, or we're in Bedlam of Cacophony. I assume it's a dead project now, right?
Yeah. I mean, we don't play shows or record, but I mean, we still
sucks.
talk all the time.
Dude, bring it
is what
back.
is.
Everybody's coming back now. You bring back Bedlam of Cacophony. Let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, tell those guys.
I hope they're listening right now.
I mean, we talk about it all the time. It's just I think it's just a matter of execution. A lot of it is just like vocalist is out in Vegas. He has a kid and he's married and all that. So it's kind of hard to just try to talk everybody to play together again. But the desire is there. We talk about it. It's just got to execute. So
Okay. At least another album or
yeah.
something. Then y'all can work remotely. It's all good.
Oh yeah, man.
We'll see.
Okay, that's all the Bedlam questions that I have. I'm a big fan though. You're one of the projects. Yeah, Bedlam's one of the projects that brought me into this type of music. So it's really cool having you on. Actually, I'm kind of fangirling a little.
Thank you, man.
But I see what y'all are talking about in terms of like rhythmically and stuff with like Car Bomb and such. I just didn't think that y'all wouldn't say any bands that like don't have like that. I'm sorry. I'm surprised you didn't say any bands that do have like horns and stuff in them, like the Flying Lutenbachers. Like I assume that's something that y'all are into, right?
I dig them. It's what I find is that a lot of times, and maybe this is just me, is like those bands tend to lend themselves much more to improvisation in terms of like they're more jazz leaning or just like creative music leaning in terms of like the horns that they have and the ways that they're used, and more within like the John Zorn aspect of things. And so, it gets that avant-garde stamp versus like the metal stamp. And so
okay, I see what you're saying.
What we're doing is like, and this is something that comes up regularly, when you see a horn in a band and like immediately there's like, oh, there's this jazz metal group. Well, it's like, well, nothing really that we do is jazz oriented, is stylistically or performatively. It's mostly just the fact that there's a bass clarinet in the band that immediately brings that there. So it's like, I mean, I love those bands. Like, I love like horn-led metal rock bands, but I find that a lot of times they still do kind of fall within a little bit more interactive terms with each other. And that's not necessarily what we do, because our parts, unless there's like a solo section, which I think like through the record, there's probably like 3 of them, but the whole thing is, about 30 minutes. So
right.
It's like, you're kind of looking at more like, it's more rooted in the metal side than in the avant-garde jazz side of things, or the loud jazz.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah,
It's more controlled than like what some like the Flying Lutenbachers would have. Is what you're saying?
Exactly. Yeah. And but that spontaneity and that like in the moment aspect of what they do is like, it's brilliant, and it's so
it's
like,
crazy.
It's
crazy.
it's so much its own, and obviously we take influence from those things, but it's not like a direct like, I want this next riff to take influence from that. We might have some things like that, but it's not necessarily where we where this band kind of stems and is aiming for.
You're essentially a metal band and with like keys, but instead of keys, it's a bass clarinet.
Yeah, I think of it at sometimes too as just kind of sounding like a synthesizer.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yeah,
it does.
definitely.
It does. It's super affected, and it's like it runs through like so many different elements before it reaches your ears that the sound of a clarinet isn't necessarily what it is. It's just the tool for it. It might as well be an EWI, you know?
Yeah, it's like I'm kind of treating it more like a wind controlled synthesizer. Yeah, because same, you know, what Rusty was saying about kind of like approaching the sound of the band. I'm not really thinking like a bass clarinet mindset, or I'm trying not to, you know, other than just like the mechanics of playing the thing, you know. It's really just about the sound that it can make, and those sounds are different than the sounds that you hear with the other instruments traditionally in these styles, you know. So yeah, definitely thinking of it more like a synth in the context of like more of the classic like guitar, bass, drums format. I think is a good way to look at it.
Blizzix in the chat says he's got to go with the bottom left guy for best setup. Not too gaudy, not too plain, just relaxing. Rusty, you win the award, man. 8 out of 10, he says.
You know, I saw that, and I as soon as it's like, who is this motherfucker? Like, I feel like I know this dude. Someone's trolling me for sure, man.
It's the fuzzy pillows. It's got to be.
Yeah,
the
I mean,
fuzzy pillows.
this is the Zenden, you know.
Zenden. So what's y'all's writing process like? Is someone mainly directing it, or do you guys just bring in different stuff and see what happens?
It's shifted kind of over time a little bit. We tried out some different stuff over the quarantine days that we could maybe talk about a little bit. But in general, because that first set of tunes, took us such a long time to develop and tweak over time. There was a lot of different processes that happened, but it's a whole lot of trying to keep with a couple of core ideas for each song, and really try to get a ton of mileage out of it. So like Bant is, you know, most of the sections are built off of that first riff, whether it's obvious or not. And it's not only that, but you know, there's other sections too, but the whole like chill section that builds up at the end, even the end jam section, it's all like metrically or otherwise, like it's related to one main idea or a couple main ideas.
Slight serialism happening there for sure.
Sure. Yeah. But it's a lot of like trial and error. And everyone brings something, ideas to the table, and it's, you know, it sounds corny, but there are no bad ideas, you know. Sometimes a lot of stuff we won't use, but it's kind of like, it's never dogmatic, which is super nice between the four members of the band. And speaking of, you know, we don't have Jacob here, but he's our drummer, and he's absolutely killing. So he's great to work with too. Just want to give him a shout.
So y'all been posting these videos. Actually gonna start playing some of them while we're chatting here, if I can get to start. There we go. But yeah, y'all posted these videos called Wax Snacks. Is this how y'all like practice over quarantine?
So yeah, the way it started was we were like, you know, somebody will come up with like an idea that's like roughly about a minute, and then from there, like they would just upload the Ableton session, and everyone would write their parts and upload it, and then the next week we would kind of toss it to someone else. So like Mike would write a riff, I would write a riff, Roger would write a riff, Jacob would write a riff. We each write one, and then everyone else writes their parts to it, and the idea was to just keep it under a minute and just like kind of one and done, and just move on to the next one. And you know, we hit like a cool rhythm for a minute there, just like pounding out like just ideas that I don't think would necessarily have come together in that same way if we were in the same room with each other.
Well, I'm pretty sure this actually got on your album, right? Or your EP, right? Like the sax part at least? Isn't that, I forget which song it was. No?
No,
okay.
no, those are all brand new compositions, yeah.
Oh, okay, so this came after your EP then.
Yeah, we recorded the EP. Hugo.
No, go ahead, Rob. I got you, dog.
All I was gonna say was we recorded the EP January 25th, 26th in 2020, and then after pandemic and everything, we started doing the Wax Next during that time. So it's
Dude,
completely
so you've been
independent.
sitting on this for over a year? Jesus Christ.
It didn't,
Well,
it didn't
I mean-
necessarily feel
Yeah.
right to release at the time. We had it about finished, I think, in the summer of 2020, and then
Yeah.
we had already gotten our masters and everything. We were waiting on artwork and such, but at the same time, we weren't really, with the state of the world and everything that was happening, it didn't necessarily feel like it was the right time for us. So we decided to put our energy into other places, and we were just like, let's just come up with some new things and build momentum in our writing process, and find people who are wanting to listen to it, and and then when the time feels right, like, and the artwork is done and everything, just kind of we'll put it out, and then that's where we are now. So but yeah.
So, why no vocalist?
That's a great question. We
I don't
actually
even
talked
know.
about it before. We basically, when we were kind of doing the current, or figuring out what the current setup was going to be with the 4-piece, and that was definitely a conversation we had. For a second, we were playing with the idea of maybe Rusty doing some vocals and playing bass.
It was a
But I don't know.
Short-lived idea.
I don't know how serious you actually were about that. But yeah, it's something we talked about, and I think, I don't know, Rusty, chime in, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we kind of just decided that we wanted the focus to be these like the musical ideas, and the tones and the sounds, and kind of let people put their own thing on it. And that's because to me, that's the coolest thing about instrumental music versus music with lyrics, is that it is completely open to interpretation,
Well, like what Rusty was saying, you guys are more organized, and you guys like actually kind of have like riff sections and stuff. Like those kind of sections seem like they would do really well with vocals being over them.
If you hear them, like, then if they don't necessarily need to, it's like, it's interpretive. You know what I mean? Like, I do like the droney aspect of kind of like, just grooves happening in that kind of way. Slightly minimalist, because there isn't like this like force in your face telling you like the lyrics or like the words. You know what I mean? It makes it a slightly more accessible, I think, to some, but then at the same time, like, imaginative to the listener, because like what you're saying, like, you can hear something being there. And like, I love that aspect. A lot of the instrumental, like, tech math groups that I listen to too, like, they're never boring for being so, I guess, there being so much space. And I think that's something that maybe we were really going for.
Okay, I can get behind that. You do have some odd words for your song titles. Make up a couple of words, I think. Let's just go over them real quick, because some of them are really weird.
Sure.
So we have ESV. Now, I think it's either a meme on ESP, or it could also stand for English Standard Version, which is a literal translation of the Bible.
Beautiful.
So, like, what is it? What's it about?
It's exactly what sure, that could be it. But we're not gonna. I don't think we're gonna. I think
random letters and throw them together.
No. We know what it means, but I don't know if we're actually gonna ever say what it is, because it's kind of like a dumb inside joke.
Okay. So it's just a meme. I gotcha.
I don't know. Unless Mike says yay, I don't think we're gonna.
That was a perfect segue, Chris, because we're just talking about how the instrumental music, it's open to interpretation, and ESV is also open to interpretation. It can mean whatever you want it to mean.
That's funny.
So we also got Bant, which Bant is a water softener, and Bant is also a color combination of Magic the Gathering. So is this a song about Magic the Gathering?
Yeah,
I wish it
awesome.
very
You did
much.
your homework.
I wish it very much was a song about Magic the Gathering. But I think I might be the only one here that plays magic. So no, it's not. It's because Mike wrote this and it's very Balkan-y, like, Eastern European kind of line, and it was so hard that you couldn't do it, so you can't play it. So Balkant was what it was for a long time. And then when Jacob jumped in and we called it Balkant, and we finally just started calling it Bant for short. There was that whole meme world where they just put that weird B in front of things for a moment.
Okay.
And so that's kind of where it's like Kant with that stupid B over it. So that's kind of, and then when we came up with we were talking about like switching the name with something else, and I think Jacob 1 to 3 vetoed it entirely. And he was like, "No, that's what it is." So we were like, "All right, fuck it. You're so enthusiastic about it, and I love that. So yeah, we'll keep it that way."
Yeah, I think the biggest controversy was half the band wanted to get rid of the apostrophe, and half the band wanted to keep the apostrophe. And luckily, we kept the apostrophe because I think it's very important. It's very, very important to me, at least, to have the apostrophe T.
So Mike just said, he just put the 2 to 2. You can see the looks on Raj and I's faces, and then you just know.
So Ophiuchus, I think that's how you pronounce it anyway. It's not a made-up word. It's actually a star constellation. I'm assuming that's where y'all got that from. Okay. And then Thagamized. I totally thought
there's more to that. There's more to that one.
Okay, go for it. Go for it.
It is the 13th zodiac sign, which is neglected and never really mentioned. And the whole entire song is actually, for the most part, is in 13 time signature. So, yeah.
Okay, so it actually has a real meaning behind it instead of
the only one.
And so does I feel like the next two. I think they're much more of a meaning than, yeah.
Okay, well, let's get to it. So you have Thagamized, which I totally thought was a made-up word. Apparently, it's the act of getting hit by a stegosaurus's tail, which is weird that we needed a name for that. So, what?
Welcome to 2021.
Yeah. The entire planet gets hit with one gigantic stegosaurus tail.
We were all Thagamized.
We have been Thagamized. Yeah.
Yeah, I just imagine those snare hits. There's the 4 snare hits at the beginning of that one, and that's the beat down from the tail.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the whole thing kind of feels that way too, with the drive and the anger of it. Yeah.
Okay. And then you have
dinosaurs fighting,
right. And then you have scissor, which the only weird thing about it is that it's here with all these other words. So why is it scissor and not something weird?
I think the idea was to be shooting scissors at a full speed kind of thing.
You ever play Quake, the original Quake?
Not much of a game, Ron.
PC game. Basically, there's a gun in that game called it's a nail gun, which is a real thing, right? But in that game, it's like a nail gun. You know what I mean? And you can see it it's like Doom, so you see the gun pop up, and on the top of the gun it says NIN. It actually has the 9 Inch Nails symbol on it, which is hilarious. But it's a gun that shoots nails automatic, rapid fire.
Right.
So I was kind of thinking about that, and I thought about what if it shot pairs of scissors instead of nails. That would be almost gnarlier. Yeah, I kind of I imagine some anime, the scissors come out and spinning, and sticking somebody. So that's
and they never hit you handle side. They always hit you pointy side.
Yeah, somehow
because of the magic of the scissors. And I feel like the music reflects that imagery too.
Yeah, it's supposed to be kind of frantic and threatening sounding for the most part. Yeah.
Okay.
Or a scissor could just be one part of the pair of scissors. You can shank people with it.
Right. Okay.
Or it's a reference to Horse the Band Cutsman.
God.
Okay.
God.
Okay.
God.
No, it's not. It's not.
It's not. No, it's not.
Oh, come on.
But there's love there for sure.
Yeah.
So you got a really sick album cover made. I got it up on the screen now. It was I lost Ooh, oh, here we go. And it was made by Caroline Harrison, who also does art for Pyrrha and also did art for Pig Destroyer, Portrayal of Guild, Ken Mode in the past, among a bunch of other artists. So this must have been expensive as hell. Y'all going out big for the first EP, huh?
No comment.
Fine, expensive.
Yeah.
Very much worth it. We are super
Right.
Yeah.
stoked and lucky, and like I couldn't think of a better imagery representation. She's amazing. She like.
Well, it's
she
literally a wax person like melting, right?
Yeah. We kind of mentioned what we were, what we were thinking, and she was mentioned to us what she was thinking, and everything just felt and lined up like a hundo. So it was just like, yeah, that's exactly what we're going for.
Yeah, and with something that's like such a long time coming from the inception of the band into finally having a, finished product to share with people, finally, that we were really proud of. It was, we had to have a killer album cover. We had to, in my mind. So it was totally worth it, and I'd do it again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we will actually.
Yeah.
I feel like I remember somewhere she was saying that she does like actual paintings. So is this a physical painting somewhere?
Yes.
And tell me you guys own it. Tell me you own it.
She has it right now.
Okay.
I'm in New York. I'll pick it up right now.
Yeah.
Right now.
Please.
Please do. I want it on this wall.
Hey, how can you get it?
I will rotate every other
I'll
weekend.
pick it up.
Isn't that
You don't
what
get
they
it.
do? Isn't that what they do with the Stanley Cup? Right, when a team wins the Stanley Cup, don't they,
They
get
just
to
rotated different houses.
they rotate it around to everybody?
I'd rather not have it at that point. You know what I mean?
You want all or nothing for Rusty.
So what was the recording process like?
The entire thing was tempo mapped, and we tracked it live with guitar punch-ins and some clarinet punch-ins. But for the most part, everything was done live with just like a few edits.
Okay.
2 days.
2 full days.
Nice. Damn, dude, that's fast.
Yeah, Seahorse Sound Studios downtown, LA, and yeah, it was kind of crazy. Like the first day, it takes a minute to set up and get your sounds and whatnot.
Right.
We started tracking with Ophusius, I think, and I remember like we did like the first take, and we were just kind of like, let's go upstairs and listen to it, and then we all get to our phones like you do in the session. And Kobe Bryant passed away, literally, and we're right around the corner from the Staples Center, so it was just like all of a sudden our breaks and sounds outside is helicopters, and I think the Grammys were happening right around the corner as well.
Jesus
So it was
Christ.
it was like an experience. Like at one point, Raj and I were walking to the bud shop, and it was just like, it was like a wow, a wow kind of moment in terms of what was going on and where
Right.
we were at that time. Yeah.
Could
But that's
you
a
like
very-
hear them in the studio, like the audience and stuff outside?
The helicopters definitely at times, but like, most of that wasn't coming through in our recordings when we were playing. But yeah, there was like, it was quite the crowds. Yeah. So, but that was a very non-musical thing that happened. The recording process itself was, it was all live.
That's-
And yeah, very, very much rehearsed before this.
Mhm.
I mean, in all fairness, though, just one thing to note: we were adjusting riffs the day before we went into the studio. So
Did that really? What did we change?
the end of Dagamized.
Yeah, that was pretty last
actually,
minute.
yeah, that was some fuckery for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that was fun.
that was great though. Those changes, I'm really stoked on. Sometimes things
Yeah.
happen last minute, and you're like, oh man, we should be doing this, but I think that everyone was super down.
Yeah, and we're down to be open, I think, with even pre-existing songs, like if they need to morph a little bit as time goes on, kind of things aren't necessarily set in stone. Like I always like seeing a live a band live whose record I'm really familiar with, and then they do something different with the song live. I think that's really sick. So I'm, always down to change things at the last minute.
What's
It's
that?
gonna be cool.
That phrase is like a song isn't finished until someone hears it. But then Zappa would be like, even then it's not done. And he would literally keep making his songs like, like there's so many different versions of the same song if you're listening to the live recording. So, and I don't know if we'll do that to these.
Yeah.
We haven't played it in the same room since then. So, who knows?
Well, speaking of playing songs, you guys have played a couple of shows. You got plans and a set for a show now or show in the future?
Definitely. Nothing on the books at this point. I think that we're looking into being pretty calculated about what our performance looks like and sounds like in terms of, in a post-COVID world, but also just like having released the record and now having people's being able to actually hear it and listen to it. What kind of a performance do we want to bring in terms of like visual additions to things? So that's kind of some of the things that we've been playing with and talking about. Just so it's not just four guys on a stage playing really complicated stuff. There's much more visually and aesthetically that you can grab and take away with it too that really complements the sounds. And so if not having shows and then having a very calculated show and having it be this experience is pretty exciting planning process at this point.
What are some of the things you're thinking of putting in your show?
We've talked about since just like a whole visual projections, lighting, automation, everything's tempo mapped. Raj has been getting kind of crazy into like the whole pedal world in terms of like automating that as well, so that doesn't have to be a lot of footwork going on for tone zone and stuff like that. So
how do you automate pedals? I didn't know you could do that.
That'll be my second podcast with you.
That's funny.
So what's the best?
We're just trying to kind of figure out some ways to bring that the visual aesthetic of like that album cover, just there's a vibe there that we want to try to bring in, at least in part, to the live show.
You want to literally melt people's faces off.
I would love to, but I think we get in trouble.
Yeah, next time you see us, we'll probably have we'll have wax faces, or some shit like that.
So what's the best show you guys have played?
I mean, this is pre-Raj Jacob, but I really that we did a Atomic Ape and Behold the Octopus show at in LA, and that was
1820. 1820.
1720.
17. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was great. That was super awesome. We did a show opening for Burning Ghost, which is kind of
that one.
Kind of more like a avant-garde rock metal band, trumpet and some heavy guitars led. Dan Rosenboom, amazing trumpet player. They just put out a record on Zodic, I believe. And then we had as a group, we had our all hands on deck. Let's play an LA show before we record our record, and so the way that we can kind of present it. And we did Old Town Pub in Pasadena, which is a pretty small space, but great ears and good people listening, and it was awesome to finally play it live, knowing that our drummer's on a click and it all worked out. It was well rehearsed and very well received. And like I said, we are new to the live performance scene, and as soon as we kind of was all right, let's do this, all live music kind of went to shut down. So
you said new to the live performance. You guys have been playing shows since 2017. What are you talking about?
In terms of our
the full lineup.
The full lineup, having the sound and the compositions be at a place where we're damn, this is what we're happy with. because like I had mentioned before, like, you know, we had gone through a lot of different compositional changes, and so a lot of times, like, I specifically remember once Mike and I, you know, you'd mentioned bands, and there's that ending chill section, like, it's pretty complex, and it was even more complex back in the day because we didn't have a guitar player, so there was much more two-hand stuff that I had to do, which I don't have to do as much anymore.
Nice.
And it was just became like this like extremely complicated puzzle where if we can like nail it, it was like, oh my god, did we just do it? And so there's a point where we're doing a show, I think it's at the rec center, and we're looking at each other just like, we're like in the last two bars of the phrase, no one like lost the beat, and we're just like, yes. And so it really does line up like that. So, you know, like, but yeah, our last show was probably our best, and that means our next one's gonna be better than that. And like, and so, you know, just moving forward with all that stuff, but making sure that every time we do it, we up it up a little bit more, so that we're like that much more satisfied and happy with this new presentation.
What was the worst show you guys have played?
Oof. I don't. What was our first? Probably our first one.
The one in Nevada. I mean, it wasn't like a horrible set. It was just like
It was a lot.
were the last ones on, and it was hot as hell outside.
Yeah.
We were all completely dehydrated. Went on, and it was just like, okay, let's just play this, and we'll be done.
Yeah.
We played. There's this bar in downtown called the King Eddie. Very, very old bar, like 1930s Bukowski type shit. And we played, and like mentioned earlier, before we had that beautiful late bass clarinet setup, feedback and everything was just a nightmare. And it was just like, you know, it's how comfortable can you be playing when you're not really happy and you can't even really hear with what's happening. And so, I mean, we did it. It was great. I loved it. Everyone dug it. But it was just like, as a performer, you're just like, oh man, too many tech issues. So that's behind us now. You know, we don't have that problem anymore.
Yeah, never gonna have any tech issues again. Yeah.
Never gonna have any tech issues. That's why we're automating all our pedals. We're gonna even automate.
Always works.
Yeah, we're gonna automate us as well. So,
dude, you're jinxing it. Come on, man.
That's phase 3. We're doing phase 2 right now.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
So we got a question here we ask everybody. How do you dress your hot dogs?
Oh man.
Like weren't expecting that one coming, were you?
I got you though. I got the perfect answer, man.
Well, what's up?
I think that I have some Colombian family members listening, so I'm gonna go hard. So they do a Colombian hot dog where they put it's like a mayo ketchup mixture, right? And then you do like cheese, like grated cheese, and then and then you take like just regular Lay's potato chips and you crumble it on top, and then you take diced pineapples and you put it on top.
I was with you before the diced pineapples.
No, but you know what? You would be very, very pleased with it. Yeah.
I'm also not a big fan of ketchup. If you switch that out with siracha, I think we could be talking.
You can throw a little bit in there.
I think pineapple is a controversial fruit for a lot of people.
You know, not with the peeps I've had them with. It's
well, I love vinegary tastes. So I love like the classic yellow mustard, pickle relish, chopped onions.
Okay, yeah, I'm down with that.
But like, it's few and far between. But a legit, really good chili dog is hard to beat too. Like a real, like good chili with the chopped onions and the melted cheese. That's pretty solid too.
Tommy's, dude. Tommy's.
Yeah, the classic orange grease.
Yeah. Oh.
Stomach hurts just thinking about it.
Yeah.
What about you, Raj?
I can't really build off any more than what you just said, Mike. Everything you said was primo. I mean, also I play with Geigen and the fucking Chicago motherfuckers. They're very particular, so not allowed to have an opinion outside of that. No, onions and mustard. You don't need to do too much to a dog to make it taste good. You just gotta bring out some flavors.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Don't put pineapple on it. Like, who the heck does that? That's weird.
I don't know. I was looking at the chat. And I think I got some love there for it.
Oh, is that right?
Oh
I think
yeah,
so,
yeah,
yeah.
you did. Anonymous Talos, something like that.
I think-
You're
yeah,
getting
I'm
banned. No, I'm kidding.
You're getting banned from the internet. You can't use the internet anymore after this. Serious, okay?
Ouch.
So you guys are involved in a ton of other projects. Just real quickly, we'll run through some of this stuff. Rusty, you've got Cryptic Gallbladder Splatter, which I would assume I even call it mathcore. Is that about what you would call it?
No, I would say it's more
Yeah,
like
nah, man.
it's like thrashy gore grind. It's grindcore. It's grindcore, gory lyrics, thrashy riffs. It's
Well,
like
you got a lot of odd time signature stuff too. I mean, you do have more straightforward stuff.
but we got more non-odd time signatures than we have mixed time signatures. So,
Okay.
you know, it's
Non-odd.
like that Van Halen cock rock and roll shred vibes going, but like in the best way possible. So
Oh,
I think we lost Mike.
Yeah, we definitely did.
Yeah, that's and
There
he's
we
back.
Alright.
I think you rearranged the screen though.
No, I had
Yeah,
I had a boomer moment, and I hit the hang up button instead of the mute button.
Nice.
Go. Nice. Alrighty. But I love how you tagged your last album with it, Crunk as Fuck, on Bandcamp. That's pretty awesome. I didn't even know you could do that. I thought it was just genres, but
I didn't know we could do that either. I think that was back in 2010, 2011, I think.
I think
When we did that.
Eric had been in Atlanta for a while, so
Yeah.
apropos.
you were also on some Red Fiction stuff. I'm not familiar with that project.
Yeah, Red Fiction is like Jason Schimmel, who's of a Stratosphere, and plays with Secret Chiefs 3, which is Trace Bruance of Mr. Bungle. And so it kind of has that like a combination of psychedelic, surf rock, Balkan metal stuff. It's instrumental, trumpets, lots of horns, saxophone, great compositional stuff. I played with them for a number of years. Their record actually just came out this year too.
Okay, I need to check that
And
out.
so yeah, it's great stuff, man. Super cinematic at the core. Yeah, and yeah, it's fun stuff, fun music to play. Jason's a great composer.
Mike, you've got Orchestar Meza, and you also have an octet, Michael Mull octet. What the heck? You have an octet? How do you do that?
Yeah, so we talked about jazz earlier, and how wax people not being jazz. I play bass clarinet a lot, obviously, but I play saxophone. I play a bunch of wind instruments and stuff. I come from kind of multiple directions at once, but the octet thing is kind of like more like my writing outlet, or one of my writing outlets, as kind of like more of like the modern jazz thing. It's like it covers a lot of bases, but it's like I play a few different things in there, and it's also instrumental. And then the Orchestar Meze is a band that I've been in for quite a long time, since probably 2010, I think. And then Rusty's been in it also for quite a while, and that's another complete left turn. I play alto sax in that. Yeah, it's Bulgarian funk, so it's like there's actually odd time signatures, but that's because it's like traditional music from Bulgaria has odd time signatures, and it's wild. So it's kind of like a mishmash of like this traditional like Bulgarian like melodic stuff with kind of funky soul, Tower of Power, kind of Earth, Wind and Fire stuff. So it sounds completely bizarre to describe it, but it's a super fun band to play in.
No, I listened to some of it. It's pretty good stuff, man. Wow.
Thanks. Yeah, it's fun. We go off on the live shows.
Yeah, it's a party for sure.
And Raj, do you have anything going on right now currently?
I try. Other than wax people, nothing much going on. I hear a few things from Geigen about potential shows, but when that's confirmed, you'll know. So.
Alrighty. So just real quick, you guys don't have any merch, but are you all planning on getting anything together?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we're working on the classic merch combos. The stickers and the buttons and the shirts.
Cover shirt would be amazing.
Man, I yeah.
Oh yeah.
That we're that's on my to-do list, definitely.
Absolutely. Well, I'm gonna go into the outro real quick. If you're looking for some very forward-thinking progressive metal, you should check out Wax People's self-titled EP, which dropped back in April. You guys are on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Bandcamp. You're also on all the streaming platforms. Am I missing any social plugs?
Oh, that's good.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Alrighty. As for me, drop my channel, follow so you always know when I go live. You can also sub to get access to the interviews before they hit YouTube and other streaming services, as well as some exclusive emotes. If you can sub for free by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, which gets you 1 free sub a month, you can give it to me. It's like taking $5 from Jeff Bezos' pocket, putting it into mine. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. YouTube, folks, if you like the video, please drop a like, click the notification bell, don't forget to subscribe. It's a great way to support me for free. Check out my music, The Sound That Ends Creation, at thesoundthatenscreation.bandcamp.com. Right now, I don't have a guest for this Sunday. Probably just taking it off, but we'll see what happens. Thank you guys for being here. Hope you had a good time.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Fun.
And thank you guys for watching and listening.